This is Chris with the Dallas Theological Seminary Media Center. Today I would like to provide you a basic orientation to Microsoft Word. For new students at DTS, Microsoft Word is the default application that we use for writing papers, sending reports, and many other school-related needs. However, there are some new students who have not used a lot of Microsoft Word in the past and may find it difficult or frustrating to figure out how to use this new software. So what I'm going to provide you is with an outline of just a few basic things you can do in Microsoft Word that will help you when writing Turabian papers. First, I'm going to open up Microsoft Word for my doc here, and you will notice I am using a Mac computer. So I've got a test document here that I've just inserted a few lines of text to give you kind of some helpful orientation. To start off with, I'm going to give you a very large overview of these individual tabs within Microsoft Word and how you can use them. So the first one is the Home tab. This is going to be the spot where you can change the way the text appears. You can bold it, you can underline it, you can change the spacing, you can make it double-spaced or single-spaced, or you can change the font. So to begin with, let me show you how you can highlight text. In order to make an edit to any text within Microsoft Word, you need to tell Microsoft Word what text it is that you want to actually make those changes to. So I'm going to highlight this first line here. I'm going to click and drag over top of it. It turns blue. That means this is the text that I'm currently editing and working with. Now I'm going to go up here into the fonts section. That's right here where you're going to see the word Calibri. Now, as you may or may not know, the standard default font for Turabian is Times New Roman. So in order for this to be in proper Turabian style, I'm going to change it to Times New Roman. Now, you'll notice that applied just to this first line and didn't impact the rest of these. But I actually want everything to be in Times New Roman. So I'm going to click and drag over all of this material so I can change all of it at once. I'm going to go up here, click this drop-down menu, and click Times New Roman. And it's already in 12-point font, which is the default font size. So that's how you can make basic edits to the font inside Microsoft Word. Now, I do want to mention some things you might see on the screen. Let's say you try to spell out a word, but you spell it incorrectly. You're going to see this red underline for words that are spelled incorrectly. In order to make a change, you can right-click on that word, and it will usually give you some spelling suggestions. However, if you're way off, it'll probably come back with no suggestions. All right, I'm going to delete that. I'm going to highlight it and hit the delete key or the backspace key if you're using a PC. So this area inside Microsoft Word, again, provides you with ways to edit the text. I can highlight a word, and I can make it bold by hitting the B button here. I can undo that by hitting the same button. I can put it in italics, or I can underline it, or various other options. You can change the color of a particular text or move it back to where it was before. So these are some basic ways to edit the individual text on a page. Now, I can't go through every single button here, but I do want to mention a couple of other items here. For Turabian formatting, you always need to make sure your document is left justified or aligned to the left. We do not have center justified body text inside Turabian. So this is a no-no. Unless you're making a title or a heading, it should not be centered. It should all be aligned to the left. And that's how you can do that is with these little paragraph markers here. The only other thing I want to show you is this button right here, line and paragraph spacing. You'll generally see this as a series of 3 or 4 lines with arrows that go up and down. Turabian style formatting is is double spaced in the line spacing. So you don't want to have 1.0 here, you actually want to have 2.0. This is the correct default spacing for Turabian style. All right, so that's been a basic orientation to the Home button. I'm not going to take nearly as much time in the rest of these, but the Home tab is where you're going to spend a lot of time. And so I just wanted to give you an introduction there, a more thorough introduction. The Insert tab allows you to insert a series of media as well as breaks, line or page breaks, or things of that nature. I could insert shapes here if I want to. Say I want a square or something of that nature. I could do insert, find the shape that I want, and click on that, and that will allow me to insert these items into my paper. Or you could insert icons or various other different things here. The Insert tab is helpful, but you probably won't be using this quite as much. The Draw tab allows for some kind of creative means, but for academic papers, you're not really going to use this. For the Design tab, again, this is more for creative presentations. For Turabian formatting and for academic papers, you won't be using this Design tab. Under the Layout tab, these are some things that you might have to change if they get changed incorrectly on your computer. First off, there are margins that Turabian style requires 1-inch margins on all the sides. This one has top one, bottom one, left and right, both have 1. So that one's correct. You also have your page orientation, which can be either portrait or landscape. We'll see those options here. Turabian style formatting is portrait, so you want to keep that in portrait. And then this is just asking, when you go to print, what's the correct print size? The standard print size is 8.5 by 11. So these are a few items that you might need to work with. You're going to find breaks also in Layout. That was also in the Insert tab on the left side. So they have a little bit of overlap here between these two. But breaks are very important for your page numbering. And I'm going to record a separate video on how to properly format page numbers inside Turabian. But for now, you need to know page breaks are very important for correct Turabian formatting. You also have your indentation here and your spacing. If you're using the Turabian template, these things should be set automatically. In fact, all of these settings should be set automatically. However, there are times when in the editing process you might make a mistake and take away some of these formatting issues. And so you need to know how to edit them. This is where you can edit your indent and your spacing. Now finally, our references. These are very important. References are where you can insert footnotes and endnotes. In general, in Turabian style formatting, we use footnotes. However, the theology department does have a number of exercises where you will need to know how to use an endnote as well. To insert a footnote, you go to the References tab, select the text that you want to add a footnote to. Now, I'm not highlighting it here. I'm actually putting my cursor to the right and clicking, and you'll get this flashing vertical bar. That means this is where you are currently editing text. I want to add a footnote here. I'm going to go up to the Insert Footnote button and click that. You'll notice it adds a little 1 by this text. It's superscripted. That means it's not sitting on the bottom of the line. It's elevated up. That's what a superscript is. And then you'll notice down here it put a bar and it put a 1. This will allow you to insert a footnote down here, and I'm just going to put some example text here. Now, in Turabian formatting, the footnotes are supposed to be Times New Roman and size 10 font. Where would I go to change that? I would actually go over to the Home button here, and Home allows you to change the font and the font size. So the font size is 10, which is correct. However, the font needs to be changed to Times New Roman. And this is the correct font and size for Turabian footnotes. Now, again, if you need to insert an endnote, you will click right after the text where you want to insert the endnote, and you'll go to the References tab, and you will click Insert Endnote. What an endnote does is, instead of putting it at the bottom of the page like this, it will place all of your notes at the end of this section. Now, I have no section breaks here, so the end of this section is just right here beneath my text, so it's inserting it here. Now you will notice it's using Roman numerals instead of Arabic numerals. You are not supposed to use Roman numerals because when you get into high numbers of footnotes, it just can be confusing for the grader. So how can we fix this? If you go up to the Insert tab, I'm going above the tabs here to the ribbon at the very top here, and you click the footnote button. Again, that's Insert and Footnote. If I click on this, it's actually going to bring up the footnote format button, and I can change the number format to this, to be a 1, a 2, and a 3. If I click Apply, that's going to change this. So let's say I added another endnote and another. Excuse me, it was adding them at the bottom of the page here. I need to go back up to the main text, insert another, back up to the main text. You'll notice it's just counting in Arabic numerals instead of Roman numerals, which is what we want. All right, so that's the References tab. The Mailings tab, I've never used this tab before. This is mainly if you're integrated into Outlook. You can email things this way, but you don't really need this for Turabian papers. The Review tab can be helpful for you. Some professors, when they get a hold of your paper, will make comments on the paper. And to do that, they're going to start tracking changes. And they can add comments to your paper like this. And they could say something like, "This needs some work." You can view these under the Review tab. Now let's say your professor sends you back your paper and you want to look over his notes, but then you'd like to go ahead and make the changes that he requests. To do that, let's say your professor removed a line of text. You'll see under the right side it says this text was deleted. You will have to accept changes from your professor in order to get these to be removed from your paper. So let's say your professor decided to add the word added. If I highlight this word and I click the accept button, that adds this to the paper. And in that sense, you don't have to necessarily start from scratch. You can use what your professor has marked up on your paper. Not all professors use this, but some do. And even amongst your friends, say you want a friend to look over your paper, they can turn on track changes and they can make changes to your paper, and you'll be able to see those changes and learn from any mistakes you might have made and accept their changes this way. And then there's finally the View button. I don't use this very often at all. You probably won't need to use the View tab unless you might be in a strange layout like this. You might need to go to the View tab, and the standard view is Print Layout View. That's what you will probably recognize and should probably be using as you're writing papers. So again, that's a basic orientation to Microsoft Word. It's just showing you some of the basic functionality, how it works, and what these various buttons do. There's so much more to this program that I didn't cover, but hopefully what I did cover will help you in writing correctly formatted Turabian papers. Thank you very much.